Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Upgrades. I'm Jeremy Knoll.
And I'm John Suarez.
And today we are talking about the Doctor Who Commander deck, Timey-Wimy.
This is the one I know. I know this one.
Yeah, this one's really cool. So this is definitely the ones that I've watched the most. I think I've watched the Eccleston and Tennant and Smith episodes at least twice. And so these are the ones that I actually have watched. I've watched some of the Capaldi, which is in the next deck. And I haven't watched any of Whitaker yet, but I'm definitely going to be remedying that soon because I'm excited for what's coming up next. But this is the timey-wimey deck that starts at the reboot of the series in 2005. It is headed up by the 10th Doctor, which is David Tennant's Doctor, and Rose Tyler as the companion. So we're going to tell you a couple of the new cards, a couple cards that we would suggest adding to the deck that are around the $5 or less budget, and a few cards that we'd suggest taking out. So the 10th Doctor is a legendary creature, Time Lord Doctor, 3 blue-red, 3/5. Alonzi, whenever you attack, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card, put 3 time counters on it. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. And Timey-Wimy, 7 mana, time travel 3 times, activate only as a sorcery, and time travel is for each suspended card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter on it. You may add 1 or remove 1, then do that 2 more times. And then Rose Tyler is 1 and a white, 2/2, legendary creature human. Rose Tyler gets +1/+1 for each time counter on it. And Bad Wolf, whenever Rose Tyler attacks, put a time counter on it for each suspend card you own, and each other permanent you control with a time counter on it has Doctor's Companion. Doctor's Companion has to be a partner commander with the Doctor specifically, has to be Time Lord Doctor, nothing else, so it can't be a Morphon, can't be anything else like that. So it has to be one of the Doctors. So this whole deck is about suspend, about these time counters, about just all that really cool stuff going on. I'm excited about this deck.
I think we need to petition WotC to change cumulative upkeep to time counters instead of age counters.
Instead of age counters?
So we can start playing around with those counters.
Put your Mr. Gamora in there and have your time counters on that. Yeah. And then we remove those so you don't have to keep upkeep. Yeah. Yep.
If I'm paying 7, that's a lot, That's fine. It's fine.
All right, so
we have the first new card in the deck, the 9th Doctor. Colors blue-red, 2/4 haste. Has Into the TARDIS. Whenever the 9th Doctor becomes untapped during your untap step, you get an additional upkeep step after this step. It's a lot of steps.
It is a lot of steps.
But you get 2 upkeeps, as long as it was tapped.
Yeah. It's an interesting. It's a Paradox Haze, right? Is that the
Paradox Haze? Yep.
Paradox Haze was the enchantment that gives you an extra upkeep. There's also Sphinx of the Second Sun, I believe, that also gives you another returns your upkeep or whatever. So this is another one that gives you that sort of extra upkeep to do more. It does have to untap, but there are obviously ways that you can tap it outside of just attacking.
Yeah, you got your Paradise Manels and all kinds of stuff.
Well, all kinds of cool stuff. The next one is Matt Smith's The 11th Doctor. 1 white-blue, 3/2 legendary creature Time Lord Doctor. I am talking! Whenever the 11th Doctor deals combat damage to a player, you may exile a card from your hand with a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. And 2, target creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn.
I feel like if he's attacking and dealing damage, he's not talking.
Yeah.
But
that comes from an episode where the Pandorica, I believe, and all these different aliens, this whole coalition that were trying to stop the Doctor, and he's at Stonehenge and he yells at them all, I am talking. But I believe other Doctors have also said that.
Speaking of Doctors, we still have more of them. We have the War Doctor, 2 colors, red, white, 3/5. Whenever 1 or more other permanents phase out, and whenever 1 or more other cards are put into exile from anywhere, you put a time counter on the War Doctor. That's a mouthful.
It is.
Whenever the War Doctor attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of time counters on it to any target. If a creature dealt damage this way would die, exile it.
This is such a cool card.
It is a very cool card.
The War Doctor comes from a special. I believe it was the 50th anniversary special. I can't remember, but they had it was a special called the Time of the Doctor. Or there's a bunch of them that are the blank of the Doctor. There's the Time of the Doctor, the Day of the Doctor, stuff like that. But the War Doctor, Matt Smith's Doctor, and David Tennant's Doctor were all in it, and I believe they had like a scene with like all of that's the Gallifrey stands, I believe, where they had a scene with all of them just kind of there. It was a really cool one, but the War Doctor is such a cool character, and it's John Hurt, who's a fantastic actor. And this is just a really cool card. It's fantastic because Gavin pointed out before, and I believe he used this in a gameplay video already over on Tolarian Community College, where it counts every time a card is like exiled. If you're searching for something, it counts as 1. So if you're looking like, exile cards until you find blank, that counts as 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not all at once. So if it's exile cards from the top of your library, it just keeps getting more and more and more counters. Like if you exiled everything at once with something like
no, that makes sense.
Bajuka Bog, then it's just 1. You get 1 counter. But if you're exiling a bunch
of top card of your library
until you hit blank,
you're exiling a card. Then you're exiling a card. Okay.
Yeah. So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you swing in and just blow something up.
I'm no judge, so I'll leave that to see when the actual release notes come out if that still works.
Yeah.
The way I'm reading it doesn't seem like it would, but what do I know?
Yeah. So that's a really cool one. The next one is Amy Pond. This is one of the companions, Karen Gillian, and it's 2 and a red, a legendary creature human 2/2, partners with Rory Williams, and whenever Amy Pond deals combat damage to a player, choose a suspended card you own and remove that many time counters from it.
That's good.
And it has Doctor's Companion. The cool thing about this is I believe that Carmen Compliance posted that this was the sneaky way to get 3 commanders without having without having like a partner or without having a companion to actually you have to put the companion here. So you play a Doctor, you play Amy Pond, and then you also just get to go get Rory Williams. So it's kind of like a secret third commander as well.
Speaking of Rory Williams, white and the blue, 3/3. It's a legendary creature human soldier. It partners with Amy Pond, has first strike and lifelink, and the last Centurion. When you cast the spell from anywhere other than exile it with 3 time counters on it, and it gains suspend. Then investigate.
Yeah. So these two obviously work really well together. There's really cool stuff going on. He's got first strike and lifelink. Just great. I love the flavor of these decks so much. So let's go through a few cards that we would suggest adding to the deck that are around the $5 or less budget. The first one is kind of an honorable mention. It's not super great if you are playing the 10th Doctor with the whenever you attack exile cards from the top of your library and then put suspend counters on it, because it is an X spell. And that's Time Crafting, which is X on a red, instant, choose 1, remove X time counters from target permanent or suspended card, or put X time counters on target permanent with a time counter on it, or suspended card. So it's a bad hit off of the commander.
Sure, but otherwise.
But Rose Tyler gets +1/+1 for each time counter on it. Out of nowhere, instant speed, basically you can just I'm going to pump it by X. So it's just it's a red way of going red and X. I'm just going to put a bunch of counters on this. And also, take off a couple things from the stuff that I've got suspended and deal a bunch of damage. So it's just a really cool card, but it doesn't quite work with the commander.
That's okay, though. You can have some misses.
Yeah.
The next card we have is the original Suspend Commander, the Joria of the Gitu, colorless, blue-red, legendary creature, human wizard, 2/2. You pay 2, you exile a non-land card from your hand and put 4 time counters on it. And then if it doesn't have suspend, it gains it.
Yeah. This is one that's been around for a long time in Time Spiral block, and then,
Yeah, normally when you see that card, you are not wanting to play against it.
No. So, but it's a real easy addition to this deck.
Yeah, for sure.
The next one is Aeon Chronicler, another pretty easy addition to this deck. 3 blue, Aeon Chronicler's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand. It has suspend X, 3 in blue, X can't be 0. And it says whenever a time counter is removed from Aeon Chronicler while it's exiled, draw a card. So, another way where if you're going to be adding or removing counters from it, you can just keep drawing more cards, stuff like that.
Love this next card. This is Keeper of Secrets. 5 colors and a red. It is a creature demon from the Warhammer 40,000 decks. It has first strike, it has haste, and Symphony of Pain. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Keeper of Secrets deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. It's a 6/4.
It is a 6/4.
This card is good in multiple of these decks. I believe you're going to see it in another video we're going to do.
Yep. Yeah, this one's great. As we said, the Warhammer 40,000 decks were really good. They added a bunch of new cards in. They've added a bunch of cool cards for specific themes, and this is one of them that I really love this card. So. Yep. The next one, also from Time Spiral, surprise, surprise, a lot of these are going to be, Shivan Sandmage, and that's 2 red, creature Viashino Shaman, 3/2. Whenever it enters the battlefield, choose 1, remove 2 time counters from target permanent or suspended card, or put 2 time counters on target permanent with a time counter on it or a suspended card, and it has suspend 4 for red. So pretty simple.
So they don't call you out. It's from Future Sight, because that is a very complicated card.
Time Spiral block.
Yes.
Is really what I meant.
I did a lot of drafting back then.
Yeah, that was right before I got back into the game. So
Future Sight was a weird set, so things got really wonky.
Yeah.
The last card we have here is Apocryphite. Just a lonely 2-mana 1/1, nothing crazy. It enters the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it if you didn't cast it from your hand. And then whenever it dies, it exiles with 3 time counters on it and gains suspend.
Yeah, it's kind of just an interesting, can come back over and over again. It's just another card that can be in suspend. It comes back as a 4/4 pretty much every time. You can take, the time counters off it while it's suspended. And, it's just another. It's all just another way to boost rows and stuff like that. So it's just an interesting little card that doesn't see a ton of play. I think it was only printed in 2 other sets. It was printed in
Future Sight and then Modern Horizon 2.
Well, then it was also printed in the Commander 2014 precon as well, and then it was reprinted in one of the historic Commander anthologies.
Sure.
So, but yeah, looking at some cards that we would suggest removing from this deck, there's some interesting cards, but some of them kind of have, I'm not sure how they play. Again, play what you want. These are just suggestions, but it's really hard when you're looking at 50 new cards. You kind of have an idea of like the reprints are established and you know what they're going to do, but 50 new cards, you're just not quite sure what's going to happen.
I noticed you chose mostly white cards here.
Yeah.
All right, so the first card we're taking out is Crack in Time. 3 colors and a white enchantment. This one has Vanishing 3. We're taking that out because it doesn't have Fading. If it had Fading, would have kept it. When Crack in Time enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, exile target creature your opponent controls until Crack in Time will use the battlefield. Yeah, that one's easy.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like if you can keep putting the counters on it or whatever, it's okay, but there's no guarantee about it. And then like once it leaves, they all come back. All the big bad's coming back. So the next one is actually a reprint. Wedding Ring. 2 white artifact. When Wedding Ring enters the battlefield, if it was cast, target opponent creates a token that's a copy of it. And whenever an opponent who controls an artifact named Wedding Ring draws a card during their turn, you would draw a card. And whenever an opponent who controls an artifact named Wedding Ring gains life during their turn, you gain that much life. So you both simultaneously, you get it. So
Wedding Ring.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's not quite where I'm not a big fan of this card, personally.
Is it like flavorful? I imagine someone's married, right?
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's flavorful.
Makes sense. Next card we have is Everything Comes to Dust. This is 7 white, so there's got to be something crazy powerful. Sorcery, it has Convoke, so that makes it a little cheaper, and then exile all creatures except those that share a creature type with a creature that convoked the spell. All artifacts and all enchantments.
Yeah. So, real good. Board wipe. Exiles all artifacts and enchantments just by default. But it exiles cards that share a creature, everything that doesn't share a creature type with a creature that you convoked it when you control the spell. So it's interesting if you're playing it in a pod with other Doctor Who decks. I think this one is just not super great.
Sure.
I also believe I went through and looked at a lot of the cards that were in this deck that were creatures, and it's like there's Time Lord Doctors. There's a lot of humans, which if you're going to be wiping the board, you're like if you're convoking it with a human, it's okay. And then there's things like aliens is like the other big one. So you're going to be able to tap the aliens pretty easily and probably not have anybody else have an alien card. But most likely you're going to be tapping aliens and then like Time Lord Doctors, not good against the other decks in the pod in a Doctor Who pod, and then humans. Not super great against basically anything, any sort of human deck.
It looks like, according to the art, it's meant to destroy all these robots.
It is. It is definitely supposed to be all artifacts and enchantments are just get there. That's going away. Yeah.
Unless you're going to tap this next card.
Yeah.
Which is Atraxi Warden. 4 colors, white, creature, Alien Eye. flying 6/6. Whenever it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 tapped creature. And then it has to spend 5 colors and a white.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah,
that one's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty, like, for the most part, it's going to be a 6/6 fly. Like, it has suspend.
Sure.
Which is fine. Like, it's another way to, here's a card that's in suspend, and now all the cards that care about suspended cards. But outside of that, it's pretty easy cut.
Yep.
The last one, it hurts doing this, but Donna Noble is a legendary creature, human, 3 and a red, 2/4, soul bond. Whenever Donna or a creature it's paired with is dealt damage, Donna deals that much damage to target opponent, and it has Doctor's Companion. Donna is a companion. I really like Donna. I don't think it quite does what I want to do in this deck.
I believe this is the first time we've ever seen a cell phone in a Magic the Gathering art.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't think there's ever been a cell phone.
I'm trying to think if there was any in the Walking Dead ones, but obviously
there definitely weren't any active Walking Dead cell phones. Maybe a walkie-talkie, but not a cell phone.
Walkie-talkie maybe, but not cell phone. That might be the
That's
first
cell phone. Flip phone too, mind you. Product of its time.
That might be the first cell phone. Yeah, right. Interesting. So those are the cards that we would suggest taking out. Let us know what cards you would add into the deck and which cards you would take out, because obviously there are so many good cards. There are a bunch of new cards. What cards would you take out of the deck, add into the deck? Let us know in the comments. Also make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, binge, and make sure to check out the other Doctor Who upgrade videos that we have for the other decks right here on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.